This is Back to Back.
Yo, what's up, back-to-backers? This is Willy Joy. Welcome to the show. This is Back to Back. This is my podcast. How we doing out there? How we feeling? I'm out recording this in sunny Los Angeles, California, and I think you know what that means. I am in the back of a goddamn car. I am recording this intro from a car, as I tend to do, while I'm running from place to place out here. It's been a great trip so far. Been getting a lot done. There's so much I have to tell you about, but I can't tell you just yet. It's a weird time, man, flying out here. Everybody's worried about coronavirus. I'm keeping the hand sanitizer on deck. Man, there is a lot going on. I've got a lot to get to. And most importantly, I've got to get to my guest this week because I'm really excited about this. I've got the magician on the show. One of my favorite all-around DJs, the kind of guy where if you see he's playing a show, you got to just drop whatever you're doing, go see him. He's got one of the best ears in the business, one of the best selectors, and he just released a brand new EP. It's called Club Fever Volume 1. It's on his own Potion label, and we talk about self-releasing, doing his own label, all of that. You're going to hear a lot more about it in the conversation to come because he's got some really interesting opinions about the label system in general, why he's made the choices he has in his own career and what he's learned. And the magician has hits under his belt, hits on hits. I mean, he's been top 10 in the UK, Europe, Australia. He hit the top 100 Billboard in the US. And before any of that, he was half of the legendary electropop group Aeroplane. If you were around for the Bloghouse years, man, you know Aeroplane. They had so many jams. I'm going to tell you more about all of this in just a second. Before I do, as always, Back to Back is brought to you this week by my friends over at Serato. And if you're a DJ or a producer, they've been making products that make your life easier for over a decade. I've spent most of my professional career using Serato products. And right now, I want to tell you about their newest thing. This is for all my producers out there. I want to tell you about Serato Studio. Serato Studio is a new beat-making tool that is here to help you in the studio. It's here to simplify your workflow, to eliminate the roadblocks between you, your creativity, your ideas. Check it out. Serato Studio has a great intuitive interface that's based off of Serato's famous DJ Pro software. So if you've ever used that or even just seen it being used, you'll feel really comfortable the second you open up Serato Studio. And it comes built in with tons of effects, samples, loops, everything you need to jumpstart a cool little idea. They've got their proprietary pitch and time algorithm, which makes playing with samples, chopping up audio really easy. It makes it sound great. Another cool feature is you can change the key of your entire project with just a single click, which really makes it easy to just try out some wild ideas. And whenever you've got it to a point that you like and you want to bring it into your main DAW, it's super easy to export stems out of Serato Studio, and then you can just bring them into whatever your main production software is. So it's not here to replace anything. It's not something where you have to go relearn a bunch of stuff. Serato Studio is just here to be a powerful tool that you can add to your tool belt. And right now I've got a special deal just for listeners of this show. If you go to Serato.com/studio, sign up for a subscription to Serato Studio, and use the code WillyJoy2, that's WillyJoy and then the number 2 at checkout, you will get 2 free months of Serato Studio. That's www.serato.com/studio. Use code WillyJoy2 at checkout to get 2 free months of Serato Studio. All right? That brings us back to this week's guest, the magician. I met up with him at his hotel out in Washington, D.C., where he was traveling through. We had never met before, and actually we're not even really connected by a lot of people, which is kind of rare. And I always love just meeting a total stranger and having an instant connection, a very thoughtful guy. And I appreciated, he's just got a different perspective than I think a lot of what gets talked about on this show. He's already had a full career. He was half of Aeroplane. They toured the world. They had global hits over a decade ago. And, now he's well into the second career as the magician. He's somebody who, has done it all already, seen it all, and is still so engaged, so excited about what he's doing, still so full of ideas. And those are the kind of people I like to talk to. I like to see what makes them tick. I like to see what keeps them going. And on a selfish note, I just like to talk to DJs that I would go see at a club. And these days, there aren't that many of them that I would just drop whatever I'm doing and go see him. The Magician is one of them. He's fucking amazing. One of the best DJs out there. His Magic Tape series, I think I mentioned it earlier, he's coming up on 100 of them. They are legendary mixes. He's been early on so many artists that have gone on to be global superstars. He's respected in and outside of the industry. I think you're going to see why. I don't think I need to tell you too much more about it. I hope you enjoy this episode. It was a treat for me to make it. If you do like it, if you want to support this show, as always, let other people know you're listening. The best way you can support Back to Back is by helping us spread the word. So tag us in your stories, put up a tweet, tell a friend. My name is @WillyJoy on all social media. The show is @BackToBackPod. And you can always hit me up on email too if you have any questions you want to ask in private, any thoughts, comments, concerns. backtobackpod@gmail.com is the email address. That's my favorite part of doing this show, is getting to connect with all of you out there, getting to talk to everybody who's listening. And I want to highly encourage you, if you like what you're hearing, if you like the vibes going on with this show, you got to come chat with us on the Back to Back Discord. I'm in there every single day talking with people. We got a couple hundred people in there right now, and it's such a great community, such a good vibe. People from all over the world, from, Minnesota to Finland to Australia. We're connecting people. We're making new friends. We're talking about what's going on in our lives. If you're a producer, there's an area where you can post your music, get feedback, and meet other people who are actively doing the same thing as you. Man, it's just been one of my favorite things that I started in 2020, and I want to see it grow. So come chat with us on the Discord. The link to that is in the description of this episode. Go follow The Magician as well. There's a link where you can get all of his music, all of his tour dates. And yeah, that's it. I want you to enjoy this episode. Have a great day. This is me and The Magician back to back. Let's go. Well, so we already talked before we started recording. You just flew in from Belgium.
Yeah.
You've been coming to the U.S. for so long now, and you've always lived in Belgium, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Does it feel just like a regular commute to you at this point? You must make that trip so often.
Yeah, I actually come over here like probably 4 or 5 times a year for a weekend or for longer. But it's always enjoyable. To be honest, I love to come here. I made friends as well, during these years. So I see them. Promoters became friends as well.
Yeah, you kind of build a whole second family, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, but I always wanted to. I love New York. I love LA. I love both cities, and that might be good to do the move, like for business, but also for the. I talking about like California, like the quality of life compared to Belgium is much better, especially for the weather.
Yeah.
But my wife doesn't like at all LA. She's very New York, which I understand. I mean, I understand her because you have that proximity to walking, etc., etc. I like New York. Except the winters.
The winter can be rough.
Really difficult.
And I mean, it's expensive, of course.
And it's expensive as well. So in the end, we stayed. We are still in Brussels. We've never even been to move to London or Paris in Europe. But Brussels is a good base anyway. It's like we have everything. I mean...
it's a really beautiful city.
It's a beautiful city. People are nice. And for business, it's not the best, obviously. London is better in Europe or Paris. But it's just actually 2 hours by train to London and 1 hour and 15 minutes to Paris. So
That's so crazy. Now that you say that, I think I knew that it was that easy to get around, but I forget. I think Americans just forget in general, man, that just 2 hours to London, an hour and a half to Paris. That's crazy.
that's crazy. Yeah. And 2 hours to not even like 1.5 to Amsterdam. So distance are really, if you travel more than 3 hours, you're out of Europe,
Right.
basically.
When you were coming up in Belgium and, just starting to build your career, because in America, there's, at least nowadays for DJs, there's this pressure of, oh, you have to move to LA. Why haven't you moved to LA yet? Come to New York. Was there that kind of thing for London? Like, were people telling you, oh, you should really move?
But especially for my music, in Europe, London is actually the main city, I would say. And,
right.
And also, like, when I was young, that was a dream to live in London because all the record shops were there, the best ones. The clubbing scene is insane in the UK and everything. But I feel closer to the Latin French. I'm actually Belgian. My mother is Belgian. My dad is Italian.
Okay.
So I'm half Belgian, half Italian. I speak French, so I'm like 100% Latin.
Right. And did your dad meet your mom in Belgium?
In Belgium, yeah. He was born in Italy, but he came to Belgium when he was 4 years old or something, in the 50s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Just his whole family moved over there?
Yeah, whole family to work, actually, because in Italy, they were a poor family from like countryside in Italy. And my grandfather worked in mines.
Wow.
Yeah, in the 50s, 60s. Then he got health problems and stuff, so he had to stop. But my family stayed in Belgium anyway, and my dad, grew up and then he got me like really young. Actually, my parents are just like 22 years old more than me.
Oh wow! Okay.
So at the age of 22, they got me. Yeah.
That's crazy. It's just crazy for me to think about that because, I think about what my life was like when I was 22, 23. There's no way, if I had a kid then.
No, absolutely no way to, you want to enjoy your life. You feel free and not like linked to a person actually having kids. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What can I say is that I have one girl.
Right.
And it's just a beautiful thing, but I was 37 years old when I got her, the perfect age.
That's about right.
I had my my youth and everything, my career and everything, but
yeah, it was all already set, so you didn't have to worry.
In a way, exactly, about like for her to feel comfortable and
how old is she now?
She's 6.5. Yeah.
Wow. That's, man, I can only imagine. It's interesting to think about. Like, I wonder, in those years, because they say, 0 to 5, 0 to 6, it's when you really form who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And I wonder about, well, first of all, when you were a small kid, do you remember the kinds of music or things you were exposed to from your folks at that age?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember I got into music very young. Always excited about the stereo in the room. There was a stereo with vinyls or cassette
And was music always playing?
Always music, because my dad is fan of music and my uncle as well. So my dad's brother. So I used to see him younger like a lot as well. So he brought me in car and stuff. So he was listening to music always. And the music he listened to was basically pop music and also Italian disco music.
Right.
80s music.
Yeah.
Yeah, pop music, I would say, like Michael Jackson to Queen, ABBA, Supertramp, and Passion Project and stuff like that. Classics.
And what do you play at your house now when your daughter is around? Is it the same kind of house? Is music always on?
But she got a pretty strong character. So when I play my music, when I play the music I want to hear, it's not, I don't play my own music, but I play music I like. But she's like, no. But she needs to get into it also,
Yeah.
It's in English. She speaks French, so it's in English. She likes to sing along, So in English, it's obviously more difficult. She tries.
Right.
She takes lessons already, but she prefers to sing in French. So the singer is the most important thing than the music for her at that age.
That's really interesting too, because I have to imagine even for you at a young age, you probably didn't know what all the words meant in English, right?
No,
of these songs.
Exactly. No, in English. And I remember, for example, on a cassette, when I was looking for a song, I was writing notes about, I was hearing like an English song or anything.
Right.
And I'm writing notes, but just, doesn't mean anything, but it's just the phonetic,
Right. Yeah, that's so interesting. Probably, I wonder if anyone's even studied that kind of thing, because if you can't understand the language, I wonder if you pay attention to other aspects of the song more, a melody or a guitar line or something like that. Like, I wonder if that even shaped the way you think about making music,
Yeah, but from my point of view, for what I actually lived with the music, it's more about always about the melodies and the vibes, and less the vocal.
That's really
to be honest. The vocal for me it's an instrument.
Right, just like anything
else. I don't pay
else.
attention to the lyrics sometimes, but I don't pay attention really to it's good or bad, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's what I feel. The vocal is an instrument. I use it like an instrument.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I really like that.
That's why I've never been into rap music, for example, or to big song. Like,
yeah, well, that's interesting to bring up like rap music too, because I'm just jumping around now, but I'm thinking now about like records in your discography, stuff like Las Vegas, or I feel like there were a couple of years where you were exploring hip hop sounds a little more.
I wouldn't say it's hip hop; it's more like R&B, and the music is still like chords and like emotional. It's more like a love song than a rap thing.
Yeah.
When I say rap, I mean more like Public Enemy. Like the proper rap from the 80s and 90s, like aggressive, not Drake or The Weeknd. It's
right.
not the rap.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting now because the lines are so blurred. Right?
Yeah,
you
true.
can have an artist like Drake who really, I mean...
Well, Drake rap as well. It depends which song, obviously. But I mean, Weeknd, for example, it's not really rap. It's R&B, but it's in that rap category anyway.
Yeah, and then you've got, of course, trap music, like serious trap music, which is sort of, maybe that's the Public Enemies of the world. Maybe that's where that sound evolved to, right?
Yeah, I think so. And younger, I like it, the hip hop, more like the old school hip hop from New York.
Yeah,
with the graffiti and the breakbeats and the b-boy things. I like that because it has a funky disco groovy thing in it.
Right? Yeah, and they all came from the same place, right?
Yeah, true.
At the start.
So I was really into that very young, but then I left the rap music like mid-80s until like 2000.
Yeah.
Didn't listen. I was really into house and techno and also disco and stuff like that. Yeah.
Was there a lot of dance music in Belgium when you were a kid? Was it something you had to seek out, or was it just sort of around you?
When I was very young, when I say young, it's like 5, 6, 7. My parents used to listen more like international music. English, American, Swedish, Italian, not really Belgian. But then I grew up, and at the age of 12, 13, 14, the new beat, the new sound was born in Belgium, the new beat.
Okay.
Which was a kind of acid house in the UK, and house from Chicago, or techno from Detroit,
And then New Beat was sort of Belgian's take on that sound.
That's it, exactly. And I was like 12, 13, 14, so I needed like to be different than other people. So I went into that genre, that style, also for the clothes and everything.
What was the style? What was the
style?
Fashion?
Was like all black, like it was like kind of a tuxedo.
Yeah.
Between tuxedo and trainers, but also a lot of how do you say, a badge?
Oh, like patches.
Patches.
Yeah, patches.
Patches like acid, you know,
Right.
the smiley.
Yeah.
Pink, yellow, green,
Right.
fluorescent, like everywhere.
Oh, that's cool.
And the shoes were also like Doc Martens, you know, the Doc Martens.
Yeah, that's cool. That's like a more tasteful version of a raver, right?
Tasteful, like it was like, yeah, the raver thing from late 80s, early 90s. And the dance was like also like something very special. Dancing only with the hands, the legs like doesn't really move.
Really? Just the hands?
Just the hands, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
It was pretty slow. The new beat was pretty slow compared to techno or house in terms of BPM.
Right.
It was more like between 105 to 115.
Oh, interesting.
Not 125, 140, more like slower. So with the hands was more like...
yeah, you could just kind of vibe
to it, yeah.
That's cool. I got to look up some of that new beat
Check it out. Check. There is a documentary called The Sound of Belgium.
Okay.
You have to check it out.
I'm going to find that.
Really
that sounds
good.
Great. Yeah, and for all the listeners too, go check that out. Let us know what you think. And when you say you were getting into that sound, were you just going out to shows, or were you actually starting to perform music at that time?
I was recording music on the radio. I had no money to buy turntables at that time, at the age of 30 and 40.
Yeah.
So no money. So I had a double cassette, you know, deck tape, you know, double.
Yeah.
So I recorded like old radio shows on the radio station. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then when the man like talked, I cut at that part, and I mixed it to the other part where, you know, and that's how I made my first mixtapes actually.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, but it was just the cut up, you know, cutting
the actual tapes.
Yeah. So the mixes were just cutting.
Right.
No really mix together.
That's fun. Was anybody else hearing the tapes you were making?
No, it was just for myself. Well, I say no, but yeah, my friends around, like some people. And then slowly I started to work. I used to work in the my uncle, another uncle actually, had used to have like a market, like fruit and vegetables, and every weekend I went to help him to make money to buy records actually.
Oh wow.
And then also to buy turntables.
So you just saved up, and after a while
saved money, and so it took a while to get that set up. But when I got it, I was probably 17 years old or something, 16. Okay. That was so exciting. And I made my first like mixtape with vinyls.
Did you, at the time, were there people you were looking at, other DJs or people who may have made you want to, actually start doing it yourself? Or was it all just kind of something inside of you?
That was something inside of me. I at the age of 16, I didn't really went out to party or I started around more like 18. So 14, 15, you cannot go out.
Right.
In Belgium, it's like 18 years old.
Okay.
Not 21 like here, but 18 is, it's young.
Yeah,
still
yeah. Yeah,
so it's like 17, young. Some clubs were like, okay, they didn't check your ID. So 16, 17.
But not as bad as maybe the UK where they're going out at 13, 14.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And all my friends were like really into like partying, like spending money on drugs and everything, like really getting like completely fucked up. And me, I was like, okay, I had drugs. I mean, it's not my thing. But I had just a little bit of money to buy one Coca-Cola or something. And I went next to the DJ and I was just watching the DJ the whole night. And just checking like, wow, a spin back. How did it do it?
Right.
I have to do it the same. And I was like, okay, checking.
Yeah, the thing you've been listening to on the radio for so long, you can finally see someone
doing it. Yeah, that's it.
Did you sort of immediately decide this is something you wanted to do?
But I was already doing it, actually. But I was really timid, really super shy at that age. Yeah, I did some birthday parties, DJing for birthday parties.
Right.
But I was doing my thing and not playing for the crowd. You know, at a birthday, you have to play like,
Right.
you know, and I was like playing just techno and hardcore stuff. Underground stuff.
The most underground birthday. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was like 19 years old, and a friend was like, okay, there is a bar in a city where close, like from where I lived. I used to live in the south of Belgium. So I wasn't living in a big city, actually. I have to mention that because it's important. So I wasn't like surrounded by record shop.
Right.
So I was just surrounded by cow and and farmers and everything. You know?
Right. Is this the same town where your family was in the mines? And
not far. Yeah,
Okay.
not far.
Yeah.
That's where they bought the first house. So the countryside of Belgium, like nowhere, like
Right.
super depressing for a young man like me who likes the music.
Nothing
So
to do.
I had to take like 2 buses, then 1 train or 2 trains to get to Brussels or Antwerp, and London was a bit more longer.
Right.
With the ferry, actually, with the
Oh, yeah,
boat.
because it wasn't that quick back then.
There wasn't
right?
any train, any tunnel at that time. Anyway, I started to, at the age of 19, I started to, a friend of mine was like, okay, there is a new bar in Charleroi. Charleroi is a city south of Belgium. It's like the Detroit of Belgium.
Oh, okay.
So very industrial,
Yeah.
poverty, not as extreme as Detroit, but it's
Yeah.
pretty bad too.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of drugs and very bad vibe, but there are some cool people as well.
I mean, those kind of areas are interesting, and Detroit is the same way, because I think when there's so much struggle and times are hard, that's also when people make really interesting art and kind of interesting culture can grow out of that, right?
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm up to try in that bar to play some music. I really wanted to do it, but not in front of a crowd. I was okay to do it, but with the crowd on my back.
Yeah.
So I put the turntable somewhere, and the crowd were on my, because I was really shy to see people's eyes. But then slowly, I did that for 2 years, and after 1 year, we put the DJ booth somewhere else because people came in, and it was busier and busier and busier. But I used to play from 9 p.m. until 6 a.m. on my own, 6 hours every Saturday for 2 years.
Wow.
All of genres, like from trip hop to breakbeat to house to techno, drum and bass.
I mean, that sounds
Everything.
fun, man. I had similar gigs when I was a kid and when I was just coming up. The really long sets where you kind of had to satisfy everybody, and they weren't coming to see you. Really, they were just coming to have a good time.
And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I don't know if you feel the same way. I feel like I learned a lot from doing those.
Yeah, that's where I learned the most, actually, I think, because it was a bar, so people doesn't really stay a long time, you know? It's not like a venue or a club. Like, people come to see you, or they pay tickets to get into it. So there was a free bar, free entrance. I mean, so you have to keep them. And the owner was like, yeah, try to keep them.
Of course. And you get a little window of time, right? From when somebody walks in, you have, you know, maybe, I don't know, 5 songs, 7 songs before they decide they don't like it and they leave, you know?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Exactly.
Which is so funny, because I think that's something in the modern era of DJing, which is so different from what we were just talking about. I think that's one thing that's gotten lost is, you know, even on the biggest stages at the biggest festivals where you're the rock star and people are coming to see you, I still think that not enough attention is paid to actually the people who are out in the crowd and how they're feeling at the time. And I don't know. I think that's maybe an advantage somebody like you coming from that background would have, as opposed to a lot of people who have come up more recently and just sort of, this is the way it's always been. There's always been this big crowd.
Yeah, for sure. Well, then it's good to see like how they're going to evolve, and like maybe talk to them in 20 years and see how they live their career, you know?
Yeah, that's true
that's
too.
the thing. Yeah. So,
Isn't that crazy to think about, you know, if you were just starting off now, what it would be like? I can't even imagine, man.
yeah. Well, to be honest, I'm very happy to live like the organic, like vinyl stuff, the change, you know, to the digital thing. And so the way to go to the record shop like every week to buy records.
Yeah,
so there was no other way to get music, actually.
Right.
That's the thing.
Yeah. You had to put in time. You had to struggle. Yeah. Was the record store that you would go to, was that also far away?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was like one or two record shop closed, but not that good as in Brussels, Antwerp.
Right.
Obviously London, but no, that was and no way to order online either.
Right.
So you had to go to the record shop.
Yeah, it's the craziest idea. And the quantity of vinyl that they had was limited, right?
Yeah.
So, the shop might only have 5 copies of a song.
Yeah, there was always at least one fight per week between two DJs to get one record. Oh, I have only three
right.
pieces. Oh, I'm playing tonight, tomorrow. Can I get it, please? I'm gonna get 2 more like in 2 weeks only. It's coming from Chicago. Oh, right. I need it. And even if the track is not that great, it's just like you need it because it's limited.
Right, of course. It's that when something is scarce, when there isn't enough of it.
And that's why I made it like a little. That's why I never give the track listing to the magic tapes.
I was just about to bring those up. Yeah,
I bring that on the table because for me it was so intense when I love the music, certain music, but I don't know who it is.
Right.
I really love it more than, and I cannot get it.
Right.
I'm so excited. So I listen to it. I love it. When you get something and then you have it, so okay, cool. I have it.
Right.
It's like in life. It's like for a girl, it's the same thing. For anything.
Right. If
you don't music have to work is the same thing. So not giving the track listing, it's not disrespectful to the artist.
Oh yeah.
It's more like about like what I just said, like being like excited about.
Yeah, it's about the hype and the buzz, I think, and the experience that people listening to your mixes are going to have, right? Mm-hmm. Because I'm the same way. I think about the mixes I loved as a kid, and I definitely didn't know every song, and it would be a process. You'd hear something in a mix, and you'd play it a bunch of times over and over, and then you'd try to figure out if you could find it anywhere else, or if you heard it in another mix. It's like putting together a puzzle almost.
Yeah.
And we should say for the listeners who might not know, we're talking about your Magic Tapes series, which is the mix that you've put out every month for years now, right?
For 10 years.
10 years,
I started in 2010.
Yeah. That's amazing. And
we are celebrating the Magic Tape 100 this year, 2020.
Do you have any big plans for it?
We have plans, yeah.
I don't know why I asked, obviously.
we have a really cool and big plans, yeah. I'm going to reveal that like in a few months, yeah.
That's great, man. And it's interesting because I love those mixes too. And on the way over here, I was actually trying to think about why they seem different to me, because a lot of DJs have a mix series, right, that they put out. But with yours, people seem so drawn to it in a way where it's not just sort of another piece of content that you just drop off into the world. And I don't know if that was, like, when you started the Magic Tapes, was that sort of a conscious thing? Were you thinking about the presentation of it and sort of the purpose you wanted it to fill, as opposed to just making it, sort of another mix?
For me, Magic Tape is a really passion thing. It's not a business thing at all.
Yeah.
It's just, I just want to share the music I like, and the music I feel like is cool, and because I love so much the music of other people.
Yeah.
And I just want to put the tracks together and share it. That's just it's simple as that.
Yeah,
actually.
just keep it that pure.
Just pure. And as I'm a little bit of a nerd and excited about new music and unreleased stuff, I always like send an email to my DJ friends, producer, labels. Okay, have you got something exclusive for it this month?
Right. It's the same as going into the record shop, right? And
it's the same. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Yes. And then I received a lot of music from them. Also, a lot of demos. A lot of music from just DJs, artists I don't know, but they just try to be on the tape. Or they try to sign on my label.
I actually had Lane 8 on the show, and he brought you up as somebody who really, you put one of his songs in one of your magic tapes early on, and he said that was one of the big keys to sort of him getting a lot more success.
I'm happy. He said that to me. He said it to me through a social network. I forgot which one. I think Twitter. He said that on Twitter like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He was thankful, and I appreciate that because I did that for many other artists, actually,
Right.
not only Lane 8, but a lot of other. I put the first Disclosure track in Magic Tape 12 or something
Oh, that's
before
crazy.
The first Duke Dumont track, Route 94, My Love. I put it.
Oh, really?
First.
You were
but
early
as I
on
don't put the track list, people doesn't know I was the first to put it because.
Right.
So it's like I'm a little bit fucked in a way to
Yeah. You don't always get the.
But that's
the
fine
props.
because it's passion. It's a passion, so I don't care.
Well, sure. And I think if you look at that track record of all these records that you put on very early that then went on to be really big records or really big artists, I think that says something very positive about you and your ear.
Yeah.
And
I don't say I made the artist because of the Magic Tape. I'm just saying that sometimes I have.
Yeah. I wonder what that is. I mean, is that something you can identify, something about a record when you hear it that, just makes you say, oh, there's something here.
Yeah,
this is
always.
different.
Yeah. Or it's different, or this could be a hit, but I don't like it because it's too obvious, but this is a hit, or this is... Oh, this is really different. I love it, but it's not gonna be a hit now because it's not the sound of now. This is cool. It sounds old school. So always but it's all about the vibe and the chords and the emotion.
Yeah.
Or like the energy also. It can be just the energy and something a bit weird, like a weird sound or.
Yeah, it can be something simple sometimes too.
Yeah,
right?
just simple with even no chords, just something weird and like.
Yeah, and what you said about timing is interesting too, right? Where you can say, "Oh, I love this track, but it's not going to be a hit because the time isn't right for this sound.
Yeah.
They're either too early or too late."
Yeah,
it's really interesting to think about. I actually wonder, for you, making your own music, have you had experiences like that where you made a song that you were in love with, and for whatever reason, it wasn't the right time for it, or you had to sit on it?
So it's, to be honest, it's happening always. My big problem is that I always signed the magician to a major company. Past 6 years.
Yeah.
And with major company, when you present the music, that means the music is going to be out at least not before the next 6 months.
Right.
So if you do something like hip or something,
By the time
by the time it comes out, and if you follow the trends, like for example, I would say, okay, now the trends is like the new EDM is like Fisher and Chris Lake. And you make a Fisher track now, it's gonna come out in 6 months. You're gonna feel like dated.
Right. Yeah.
So I said that not for me, but I said that for the young producer, more like.
Yeah, it's really important to realize that, because
to really like get genuine with your sound, like get your sound, and whatever it sounds like, all new, or there is like space for anyone nowadays.
Yeah,
you can release like disco, funky stuff, like house, like Chicago house, or EDM. Or EDM is also like a parenthesis,
right? Yeah,
because EDM in America is everything.
Everything, yeah.
But for me, it's not everything. EDM, it's like the
big room.
It's
house,
a big room. Electro house, like big room. Yeah,
right. Yeah,
it's a genre.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not the genre of electronic dance music.
Yeah, well, it's funny because in America, I mean, especially the newer generation of dance music fans, you're right that everything is EDM, right? Because I think America, we have very short memories and don't really know all the history of dance music.
Probably,
which is
most of the young people. Yeah, that's fine. It's not,
it's not a problem.
It's not a problem at all, huh?
Yeah,
it's just a different definition of the word EDM in Europe.
Right.
Also, nowadays, like the young generation in Europe, they call EDM everything related to electronic dance music. Can be house or techno, electro, or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's more like my generation.
Do you see differences in U.S. crowds versus European crowds now, in 2019, 2020? Is there a big difference? Does it feel different playing in Europe?
There is not a big difference, no. There used to be a big difference 10 years ago, but now, no. I feel always like more welcomed here because I'm probably from Europe. If I play in my country, it's different. They are proud of me because but it's a different vibe.
Yeah,
it's a different vibe.
They know you live there.
Yeah, they judge me a bit more, especially, for example, Paris, London, they judge a lot,
Sure.
Oh, he played that. Oh, it's out for like 6 months. It's an old.
Right, yeah, it's a little more
he
stuck
played
up.
super commercial. Oh, yeah, because he plays too much in America.
Right. We corrupted you, yeah.
Something like that. I heard that, huh?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That's so funny. But I feel like, I don't know. I mean, if I look at your whole history, I mean, we haven't even mentioned Aeroplane, which was the group you were in before you were the magician. And that was a whole
That was
arc.
my trampoline to the international.
Right.
Yeah, because I was already doing music, not as professional, just as passion. Not very seriously. But DJing, yes. But then the meeting with Vito from Aeroplane, was crazy, and that.
How did you meet?
We actually, so I was DJ, and he came to the parties where I was playing, where I used to play. And he came to me and was like, "Oh, I'm doing parties as well. Would you be up to play at one of my party?" And then I went there, I played, and then he said, "Hey, I'm producing as well. You want to see?" So yeah, why not? And I was looking for someone, to help me because I was really bad. I'm not a musician. I wasn't.
You weren't trained as a
musician. I was
musician,
more like DJ and not really a musician. And he is a great musician,
right?
Bass player, pianist, and everything. So I was like, that could be a good combination, And so we started to make music, not as Aeroplane, other different nickname before.
Yeah.
And then I always dreamed to make the same music as Lindstrom and Prince Thomas, the Norwegian music, Todd Terje.
Yeah.
The disco.
The disco influence.
Yeah. But he writes music more like as a Latin guy, Italian. So with a different emotion.
Okay.
A bit more major, a bit more. So we had that. We mixed both influences, and that made us pretty unique, poppy, sometimes cheesy, but always a bit cool.
I mean, that's what I was going to say earlier when we were joking about, your sound getting corrupted by America. There's always been a pop influence, right? And always a love of sort of fun music.
Always. For me, pop music is it's not pejorative. Pop music is not bad.
Right.
It's, indie is the cool before being popular.
Right. Yeah. And
because it's rich in music,
Yeah.
You have a verse, you have a chorus, you have a bridge, you have melodies, and it's rich in vocals as well. And
I think you're right that that's maybe when it's the most interesting, is when it's still sort of fresh and indie and a little underground. What we were just talking about with the magic tapes and you finding, these songs before they hit, it's almost the same idea, right?
Yes.
That's when it's the most exciting.
Underground before overground.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, I loved all the Aeroplane years. That was when I was just starting to, really DJ. And I wasn't a full-time DJ yet, but, I was playing some shows and making some money here and there. And I remember actually, I don't know, but one of the first Aeroplane remixes I ever heard was the Sébastien Tellier Kilometer remix. And I still love that to this day. And now hearing you talk about how it was kind of a mix of two different styles and attitudes, I think you can even hear that in those early songs.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was like a short part of my career, but the most intense probably, also in terms of buzz,
right?
With the UK, with Pete Tong, Annie Mac, and also that's the time I met a lot of also like producer, because we got the hype, so we were on tour with like people like Justice, with Soulwax, Aeroplane. So
right, yeah,
those people were the kings in 2009, 8, 9. 10.
Yeah. All the French house guys,
French
the
house
headbanger guys.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that must have been a crazy time for you two. Did it take off pretty quickly? You know, once you started putting out some music, some remixes, did people find it and like it pretty fast?
With Aeroplane, we actually, I was very close to the main A&R of Eskimo Recording in Belgium, which was Dirk. He became our manager afterwards.
Okay.
Manager of Aeroplane. And that guy has a great taste and in music and amazing. So Eskimo Records in 2008, for me was a dream to be on it, because that was one of the most like hyped label in the game. So I presented him like 3 tracks we made as Aeroplane, and it was like, wow, that's next level. Okay, I want to sign them. And I remember exactly that exact moment. I was so happy, so excited.
That must have felt crazy.
Yeah, and then he played them to Pete Tong. I don't know how. I didn't know how to get there at that time.
Right.
And Pete Tong was like, wow, that's next level. And the music became like... no, actually, first of all, Lindstrom and Prince Thomas did an essential mix, and they put like 2 tracks of Aeroplane in the essential mix.
Oh, that must have been crazy since you were such a big fan.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that was crazy. So that was in 2008.
And did you guys start touring pretty quickly after that?
Yeah, we started to tour, especially Europe, and we did like some shows in America. We did Coachella. No, he was like doing the music. He wasn't like really into like touring and DJing, so he was doing the music, and I was more like the DJ.
Right.
So I did Coachella, but off, not the main festival. In 2007, the pool party for magazine. I forgot, like with all the hype people from LA.
Of course, yeah,
that was cool.
Well, I wonder too. Do you remember, the first time or the first couple times you came over to the States to play shows, and what in that New York, was like?
In New York, in October every year there was what's the name?
Oh, CMJ.
CMJ. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I played the Tribeca Hotel, I remember, and another club with Dave Pianca and...
I know who you're talking about.
Dave P.
Yeah, Dave P. God, what was that show called?
He's still doing parties and a lot of things. Huh? He's still like the cool vibe, the cool music.
Yeah, he's still around.
Philly and New York.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what he's doing, but he's definitely doing something.
Yeah, he brought me the first in America, Dave P. And Josh.
Do you have any, if we just talk about the early years of touring, whether it's coming to the US for the first time or going on tour with Justice and sort of being part of, this exploding movement, do any memories spring to mind? Do you have an impression just of that time in your life?
Yeah. I've got, great memories for like a tour in Australia. Australia is pretty special because usually they bring, it's far away, so they do like festivals like in different cities.
The touring festival.
The touring festival, exactly. So it's the same lineup in every city. So it's like a big group of artists like all together taking the same flights, everything. So that's how you actually make friends. Or not, but that's how you meet people easily.
Right. It's like a summer camp.
At summer camp, so I did that one with there was Justice, BZP, Tiga, Errol Alkan.
That's such a big lineup.
La Rue.
Oh man.
Who else? Empire of the Sun.
Oh yeah.
I went to their studio, their house actually.
Oh, crazy. Yeah.
I was a huge fan of them. Yeah. For me, it's a disaster because that could have been like the biggest band ever.
Right.
The project was insane.
Oh, it was so nuts, man. I had Empire
MGMT
of the Sun
as well, MGMT. Yeah.
Oh, MGMT too, man. Yeah, so that's everybody from that era.
They're from New York, right?
Yeah. I think so. I think that's right.
So that was a great memory there.
And then just to see where everybody's gone from there, right?
Yeah. Some people are still, in the game, other less. And yeah, Tiga is still in the game, he's always been like a cool guy, like funny.
I love Tiga.
Me too.
Such a funny guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, even for you at a certain point, obviously you left Aeroplane and started The Magician. And was that a hard decision to make at the time?
It was a really hard decision from my side, probably from his side as well, but he knew that he thought he could handle the project by himself without me.
Right.
So I've been, in a way, fired, but I knew it was for a better move.
Right.
But that was hard for me to leave the project because I gave so much love and so much work into it.
Right. And I mean, it was at the time.
But our relationship was not. Yeah, it always been like between like great vibes, but also really bad. So always compromise, and so I had always like, my stomach was already hurting.
Yeah,
what I mean, like when you have like you feel like a bad feeling, and for him as well. So he took the decision to split up, and I think that was the best idea the best things before the album came out, actually.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's, the project was big at the time, right? It was doing well. So that's got to be a scary time to sort of leave and start something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I didn't know what to start, to be honest. Because for me, I was like just a DJ. I had a great time with Aeroplane, but he was doing the music.
Right.
Because mainly, with his hands.
Right.
More me, my head, my ideas and stuff.
The ideas, the vibes, yeah.
But as we had like no time to really like sit down and learn music together, so it was like rushing, always me DJing there and him like, okay, you have to finish this remix. Don't go. Steven's gonna go there, and so and he was living like 1 hour drive from my home, so difficult to be always together in the studio. Then I was like, okay, down. 2010, I remember June 2010, and then our manager was like, okay, Stefan, you have to, take some months off, think about it. And then my girlfriend Julie said, no, we're gonna start a new project like straight away. Okay, let's find a name. And then she was like, what about The Magician? I said, are you kidding me? No, it's too funny.
Right.
No, why? I was like, no. I hate it. And I was like, I don't feel that, especially after, splitting.
Right.
That means like, okay, people is going to expect something magical, like something great.
Yeah.
And I wasn't ready for that. And then she was like, yes, do it. We're going to do something, etc. You can start something you can do, you like. I was like, okay. I like the mixtape, so I'm going to call it Magic Tape.
Right. Yeah, it fits.
I put out one Magic Tape just 2 weeks after the split, or 3 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
That fast.
And I sent it to all the blogs, because blogs were like...
Yeah, that was the thing.
I knew like, as I was doing like that job with Aeroplane, the communication more. So I knew like some people. So I sent the mixtape and then I got some opportunities like remix. The first one was Lickily, I Follow Reverse.
Yeah, which was huge.
Which was huge here as well, but especially in Europe, because it's been for number one in the charts, official in many countries.
Right.
So after 1 year after the split, I was number one in the charts everywhere in Europe.
Man, that must have felt... Yeah, that must have felt so good.
So good, but also like scary a little bit. And also like I was proud. That was kind of a revenge.
Right.
To my loss,
Yeah, of course.
When I lost Aeroplane, but that was like my proper revenge. Like, okay, I can do it by myself.
Yeah. Well, and I have to imagine in that 1 year before that hit, that must have been hard mentally just to, really like focus on a new thing and not worry about what had come before.
Yeah. And then things moved like really fast, and I met a lot of people, and I started to sign deals with major. And I come back to what I said in the beginning of this interview.
Right.
So when you sign with a major, you are kind of, the major is like, okay, we want a hit. We want hits.
Right. They want the hit you already made. Right?
So I made Lickily Remix as a hit, but when I did it, I wasn't like, okay, right now I'm doing a hit.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a hit. I was like, okay, I like it. And I feel like it can work.
Well, yeah, because if you sit down with the idea to write a hit, it never works.
Never
right?
works. No, it's impossible. And that's a problem I had for many years, actually. But I did some good tracks like Sunlight in 2014, which has been in the charts, like top 10 in the UK and in Australia, and even Billboard here in America, top 100. And then did more like independently, a little bit with Spinning Records as well as co-release for Shy Together and stuff. Then I had a new deal with a major with Sony Ultra.
Right.
I broke that deal last year because same thing.
Just
they wanted hits. And I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm 43 years old now. I really want to be again independent and make the music without being obligated to put a vocal on it or to So I was like, okay, I'm done. Let's break the contract. I'm gonna pay whatever.
Pay the money, get out of it.
And again, free and independent for like, so it took like 6 months negotiation and stuff.
Right.
So
it's interesting. And you started your own label as well, right?
I started my own label, but I started my own label in 2014.
Okay. And were you primarily putting out other artists on there?
But primarily, I put like Sunlight on it because I needed an imprint to to start just a name, to license.
Right.
And then I always like get music off other people. So for me, that was obvious to release music from other artists. And I've noticed like Aston Shuffle and Fabish and Bobby Norman and some people around. Like so, Potion is my record label. I signed The Magician to Potion recently. Right. I never did that before.
Yeah, that's got to feel
because The Magician
good
was always signed to a major.
Right. Yeah, that's got to feel great too, to finally sort of have control over all the different aspects of it. And am I right too that your wife is involved with a lot of the business aspects of that too, right?
She used to be really involved in the beginning of the project. She helped me as a wife, as a lover, because she saw me like really bad, like really sad, really, so it was like natural to help me. But now she have a management team. So I had no management at that time.
Right.
She was like my not manager, but like my next girlfriend manager. And the person like to whom I asked like, okay, is it good to do that? Or she got an eye as well in the design and fashion.
Yeah, well, and even just to have the thought that right after you leave Aeroplane, you have to start a new thing right away.
The energy was there, and she designed some costumes as well. She,
That's right. Yeah. And we didn't even mention another thought I had coming over here was that, the project, The Magician, started sort of at around the same time that, there was this sort of EDM boom happening in the US. And that, the EDM side of things is very theatrical and very, there's big productions and stage shows and all of that. And I wondered if the theatricality of The Magician was influenced by that, or whether you even thought about that at all.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But I remember at that time when I toured in America, when I met some people, they were like, oh, with The Magician, we could do like something theatrical, big, with maybe a magician, a real magician.
Right.
So they were like really into the magician name as it comes, doing magic,
that would have been corny.
and that was always my fear, like to fall into that kind of thing too easy, the easy way to, magician is a magician, and it's still the case now sometimes. People, I remember in the beginning, people were expecting some tricks.
Right. You step on stage and pull a rabbit out of the hat.
and I even talk about it. I was like, we should even do something like, not something obvious with a rabbit or something, but more like a pair somewhere in the room and then somewhere else, and then disappear.
Oh yeah.
Hologram, play with hologram. I never did it in the end, but
well, I feel like what you've landed on and where it's at is sort of what we were talking about earlier. It's the more tasteful version of it, right? It's the underground version of that aesthetic, where you know, it's still fun, it's still interesting, and it's theatrical, but it's not sort of the. I don't know. I think a lot of the EDM production in the States, especially, it's very corny. It's very cheesy, you know?
It's pretty cheesy.
Yeah.
And with the magician thing, we did it even cheesier.
Okay.
Or even more cheesy,
Yeah.
Even more cheesy, because we did some videos like super like cheesy, obvious, but like too much like
Right.
like British humor, like so like cheesy. To say that, okay, the magician is not pretentious. You know, it's not like something like, because being called the magician can be someone like who pretend to be.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So we broke the that idea.
Right.
With some videos like to show like, okay, it's just we just enjoy, we play actually.
Yeah, that you're in on the joke, right?
We are in a joke. We're playing for the image. We're playing with it, you know.
Right.
It's just we like us, like French and Belgian is close, so we like concepts, things conceptual. So when we start a project, we have to get into a concept, like can be like the clothes, the name, the aesthetic, and everything. Everything needs to fit together, but not. It doesn't need to be too obvious, like I say, like too. But it needs to be conceptual.
Well,
British do not do that kind
Right.
of thing. American maybe a little bit more.
Yeah. I think American does it too much, maybe. I think,
Or too much sometimes, yeah.
Because I think you're right. The British, you know, they're a little, they stay back. It's,
They
you know,
stay back.
buttoned up kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then, you know, here in America.
And French and Italian is even worse than French. It's too much as well. But the French has that, you know, balance.
Which I think you're right. And it's, I mean, you know, the French style just in general, it informs so much of what ends up being, you know, globally cool.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so just to wrap it up, you know, what, in all these years, what are you excited about now? What makes you happy about what you do?
So right now I'm excited to release the music I made this year without thinking about doing a hit, what I said. So I did some sessions, but not like 6 hours, like 2 weeks sessions, sleeping in the studio, not in the room, but they have beds, no worries. I'm not 16 years old anymore.
But
like
even so, doing sessions all night.
No, but session. I mean, the studio is open, and if you have an idea anytime, you can go there and record it. But the idea was like just to be in front of all those gear and synthesizer and being like free to do anything. So it can be just reading books and not touching anything the first day, but just being alone without thinking of my family, of, you know, business,
right,
of my friends or anything. Just being myself in a room. And in that room, there was some synthesizers and everything, and,
right.
and a sound engineer as well, in case I need it. But and I did like 15 tracks in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Not finished, but 15 ideas. But right now I've got, probably 6 or 7 almost done. 2 are done.
That's great.
They're going to be released in March.
Okay. Do you ever think about doing an album?
I would love to, but this year is going to be difficult because of those singles and then the Magic Tape 100. But I would love to release an album. I have so much to share, not to say I'm not a singer, but to share an emotion.
Right.
It's not going to be a dance album, more going to be like a live thing or something to listen at home in your car.
When I feel like you've laid the foundation for that with the Magic Tape series, right? Where that's not always necessarily the heaviest dance tracks,
No, not at all. No. It can be, Magic Tapes are not like club music. It's a mix of both, but...
Well, I like that, man. I like that, even this far into the career, you've sort of managed to reinvent it again. You're independent now. That's got to feel new and fresh.
Yes.
And I think for any of the younger producers or DJs listening, that's maybe a note to take home is, there's always a way to sort of make it feel fresh and new to yourself.
Always.
And I think that's, one of the most
It doesn't
important
come
things.
from a new plugin. It comes from your personality as well. It's more like a button to switch in your head sometimes, or a new meeting, or
even just a new perspective.
A new perspective. Right? Yeah. Sometimes you're like 2 weeks searching a sound, but go away from home and go to a different country. You will find inspiration like that.
I love that, man. Yeah. Well, this has been great. Is there anything else before we go? Anything else you want to let people know? Anything else that's on your mind?
Yeah, I'm just always thankful to people for listening to my music, and always a pleasure to come to DC as well.
Well, it's been great, man. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, that's the show. Shout out to the magician. Great to have you on the show, man. You are welcome back anytime. For everybody out there listening, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. He's an amazing DJ, amazing selector. The link to where you can go get all the magician's tour dates, all the new music, the information about his label, that is in the description of this episode. My name is Willy Joy. You can always keep up with me at Willy Joy or at Back to Back Pod on all social media. You can also email me directly at backtobackpod@gmail.com. Come chat with us on the Discord, the Back to Back Discord. The link for that is also in the description of this episode. We want you to come join the party. We're having a good time over there. I'm in there every single day talking to people. So come hang with us. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Good luck with whatever you're trying to get done this week. Go out there, have some fun, take care of yourself. And until next week, those are the vibes. Have a good one. I'll talk to you next week. For Back to Back, this is Willy Joy. Peace.